Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley, and I am reporting live from the Miller Electric Center facility here in Jacksonville following day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. As always, you can find our 24/7, 100% free boots on the ground coverage every single day on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI, and you can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Folks, it was a very, very busy day at the Miller Electric Center facility for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Friday. First of all, the Jaguars went ahead and introduced new number 2 overall pick, new pillar of the franchise, new potential face of the entire city of Jacksonville, Travis Hunter. Real quick, just my quick, reactions to, meeting Travis Hunter for the first time, seeing him interacting with head coach Liam Cohen and general manager James Gladstone. The guy has an infectious energy and personality that you can tell is just who he is. James Gladstone put it perfectly on the night the Jaguars drafted Hunter. So when he walks in a room, he's just one of those guys who, the electricity goes up. Everybody's attention is on him. And it's for a reason. R is, I guess, really the way to say it. But overall, it was something that was very easy to tell in his first, real introduction to Jacksonville, to its fans, to the media. Very impressive person. Obviously, very impressive football player, very impressive athlete. He's already now one of the core pieces for the Jaguars before even playing a down. And I thought, as far as first impressions go, this was clearly a strong one. Now, obviously, as we're moving on to day 2 of the draft, the Jaguars made 2 picks. They originally had pick 70, pick 88. They went ahead and traded pick 70. They traded that pick, a 6th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick next year, and ended up getting 3 third-round picks in return. I think any way you slice that, I saw Seth Walder of ESPN said at the time it was the best trade on day 2 so far. I think any way you slice that, that's a good trade to make. And I wrote in my observations about the Travis Hunter pick that if you're going to be that aggressive general manager who is moving up the board, in these big, explosive, franchise-altering moves like the one that James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Boselli, and the Jaguars made for Travis Hunter, you also have to offset that to an extent by trading back. You have to do it sometimes. There's a reason, Howie, Roseman, DaCosta, all these great GMs, Les Snead, they are really risky. They go for it. They make these big trades so often, but just as often, if not more often, they're also trading back. And that's what you saw the Jaguars do here. They have another stockpile of picks for the 2026 NFL draft. And it really seems, as things stand today, that the Jaguars are positioned to move forward into the future, comfortable, whether it's moving up, moving down the board. They obviously didn't stop with the number 88 pick. They went ahead and went to number 9, and number 89, my mistake, in a trade with the Houston Texans. And it was another, interesting trade, I think, that you would say, just in terms of what they ultimately were able to get out of it from a division rival. It was very clear that the Jaguars, wanted to move up for White Millum, who they took, ultimately at 89. And they simply needed an offensive lineman at some point early on in the draft. Number 88, they, of course, took Caleb Bransaw out of Tulane, defensive back. James Gladstone says he has the ability to really play all over the secondary. He mentioned cornerback. He mentioned in the slot. He mentioned safety. It makes a lot of sense for him, as Gladstone said he would, to start out at safety early on in his career. That's where the Jaguars have had a bit of a depth issue for the last couple of years. It was a big issue last season. They saw Andre Cisco walk in free agency. They added Eric Murray as a veteran presence. But Caleb Bransaw is somebody who, with his elite athleticism, really high metrics, obviously somebody who really impressed the Jaguars at the Senior Bowl, even without the Jaguars having the front office all put together at the time. This is somebody who they saw that they needed to go after. And as you guys know from listening to this podcast, we've said for some time, that they need to go after a safety early in the draft. they need to find somebody who they can develop behind Murray or even alongside Murray, because otherwise they also have Andrew Wingard set to be a free agent after this year. They have Daniel Thomas set to be a free agent after this year. You don't know what you have in Antonio Johnson. So right away, you create competition with this pick, and you give the team a young, very athletic player to develop and potentially try to see if he can be a starter. I think he has starter potential early on in his career, potentially early as this year. So add Travis Hunter, add him. That's 2 potential starters. And then, frankly, this might seem a little explosive. I think Wyatt Millam, who they picked at number 89, is a potential starter at left guard. I think he can come in and compete with Ezra Cleveland right away. Obviously, Ezra Cleveland, has the experience over him, but this regime did not trade for Ezra Cleveland. This regime did not give Ezra Cleveland, a new contract. That was the past regime. In fact, this regime has 2 coaches from Minnesota who, a team, an organization that was comfortable dealing Ezra Cleveland at the trade deadline in the 2023 season. So ultimately, the Jaguars, I believe, really have a chance to come away with their first 3 picks as 3 potential starters. Maybe not week 1, but early on at some time in their rookie careers, in their NFL careers, rookie year. I think that these guys both have the chance to step into the starting lineup for the Jaguars and make a difference right away. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Of course, we will be back tomorrow to recap day 3 of the NFL draft. So far, the Jaguars have come away with Travis Hunter, Caleb Branshaw, and Wyatt Millam. It has certainly been an interesting first draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars' new regime of head coach Liam Cohen, general manager James Gladstone, and EVP Tony Boselli. They definitely have moved in quite a unique way. 3 trades, 2 nights, 3 picks, 3 potential starters in 2025 from this rookie class. I appreciate you guys listening, and as always, we'll be back tomorrow.